It'd be pretty cool if we could get affiliated.
Yeah. I mean, we had a bunch of people in there yesterday, and we just need the followers, you know, and we'll get it. Because our average viewer count is really good. I was going to open up. I'll message that person back later. Not a big deal. Don't care what they have to say. I don't think. Well, I just got us another follower because I followed on my other account, my other Twitch account.
Nice. So we up to 25? We're officially halfway?
Yeah, we should be
Okay.
at 20.
I like it.
Where did you want to start?
Started with the NFC last time, but I think we've done
Yeah,
like the AFC a bunch. So if you want to start with
twice.
the NFC again, I'm cool with that.
Let's start with the North this time. No, let's start with the West this time.
Sure.
Let's go backwards.
Okay.
We'll work the other way.
Congrats on the ability unlock.
I don't understand the reference.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? What is he talking about? Is there?
Oh, Serrano signed. Oh, so Paul cut Frank Clark apparently.
On Baker. Okay. Yeah, I knew he cut Clark. He messaged Kevin and I asking if we could up the cut rate cuz hello William. So we got
We got a bunch.
Aiden. Yeah, so welcome to the preview podcast, guys. I'm Kyle. That's Sam.
What's
Here
up?
to do another season preview. So yeah, let's just hop into it, and we're gonna start with the NFC West this year. So this division was won by the Seahawks last year, right? I'm remembering that correctly.
Yes.
So, and this has been the most competitive division, I think, from top to bottom for the first 2 years of Madden.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe you could make an argument for like the AFC West just because of how bad it's been. That and same thing with the AFC South. Like they've all just kind of been right around each other. But so we can start with the Cardinals. And what did you think about the Cardinals offseason?
It's pretty interesting. These are the guys that aren't on the team anymore. Chandler Jones is gone. Hopkins is traded away within the division. Jimmy Smith is gone. DJ Humphries is gone, which that's not a huge loss. Max Williams is gone. But I thought Roy did a nice job of bringing in pieces to still help Kyler Murray. He brought in Michelle. He brought in tight end Tyler Higbee. He also brought in Duke Johnson and receiver Anthony Miller. So I still think Roy's going to have a good team. Is it going to be as good as last year? I don't think so. I think he's going to drop off a little bit, unless
Yeah, for sure.
unless the scheme change with Kyler throughout a 16-game season really picks up, because he did improve as the year went on. But I have Roy right now on that list of NFC teams that I think are going to be fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there were some interesting moves, some depth moves that I really liked, but as a whole, like getting rid of DeAndre really makes it tough for me to think that Roy's going to compete with the Niners and the Seahawks, especially when he traded DeAndre to the Niners. So that makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, and honestly, Roy was the only team in the division that I feel like you could argue didn't get any better. Like you could make an
Oh,
argument,
for
I
sure.
guess, for Russ. Like I think we'll get to the Seahawks, but I think Russ kind of stayed the same. I don't think he got significantly better or worse. But the
Right.
Cardinals is the only team in the division that is going to be worse than last year, talent wise.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be worse record-wise because,
Right.
as we've seen with Madden, weird things happen. Um, I guess moving on to the Niners and talking about DeAndre Hopkins, is that the move that makes this offense a top 3 unit, 3 to
Yes.
5?
Even without the move of Hopkins, Chris still brought in Jarvis Landry, Le'Veon Bell, and Mark Ingram. So this offense was already going to be pretty good. Now, if you want to make the case of why it might not be as good as we think, um, so Trent Williams and Andrew Whitworth are not on this team anymore. I assume that's because they both retired,
Right.
but I'm not sure. So he lost two of his better offensive linemen. Um, he still has Sewell, but that offensive line isn't going to be as good. Mostert isn't there anymore, and Hilton is gone, but I don't think Ty played just great for him last year. So the skill positions definitely is an upgrade, but I'm definitely curious to see how this new look offensive line stands up this year.
For sure. That's the good thing about having a scrambling quarterback is that definitely, or an improviser, I think is what Purdy is at least he has the chance to get away.
Right.
It's not like he's got a statue back there.
Yeah, and we should mention the other thing. The other big move that Chris made was trading Dre Greenlaw to the Panthers.
Yep.
One less dude he has to pay. I know he was trying to get out of paying some of those guys, and I think he got pretty good value for Greenlaw, to be honest. So, and the other move is I think Richard Sherman retired as well. So
Yeah.
that secondary is looking even older than it was last year. I know he brought in some old guys, but he also signed Micah Hyde and Kareem Jackson. So I think this defense is going to be, I would argue, just as good as last year, and it was already really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Chris has done a really good job rebuilding on the or retooling on the fly because he's not rebuilding. So
For sure.
he had a really nice offseason. So I guess we can move on to Russ and what you think of Seattle's offseason because I agree with you. I think that it was there. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. He didn't get significantly worse, but he didn't add to get better.
Yeah, he signed center Weston Richburg, left in Olivier Vernon, and Ben Jones, the right tackle. Only significant people that I saw that weren't on his team anymore is Devontae Freeman. I'm assuming he retired, and free safety Quandre Diggs. Um, draft
Con-
picks. He had some sick guys in the '60s, but I only if you didn't draft above a 70, I'm not going to mention it just because that would take way too long if we went through every single person who got drafted.
Well, and Russ also didn't have the chance. I don't think he had a first or a second round pick,
Right.
so that definitely sets him back.
But I mean, he still has Russell Wilson, um, and Russell Wilson led the league in passing. He was second team All Pro. So this offense is going to be fine. Like
Right.
I'm not super worried about it. The defense is going to be whatever. I think with the Seattle defense, it's all about bending, not breaking, because the offense is
Yep.
going to put up close to 30 points a game anyway. So if you can just hold opposing teams to 2 field goals instead of 2 touchdowns, you're going to win every week.
Yeah. Yeah, and they still have decent linebackers and Brooks and Wagner are really good at forcing turnovers along with Jamal Adams. So it'll be a defense that's built on getting turnovers and not giving up touchdowns. So I like where Seattle is still. I still think they're a top team in the NFC, but their window is quickly closing
Agreed.
for me.
Yeah.
Um, so to the Rams, who had the best draft probably of anyone,
You
and
could argue, honestly, you could argue Corb had the best offseason period out of
you
everybody.
could, you could,
I don't think
you
you win
definitely
the
could.
argument, but I think you definitely have to put Corb in the conversation. Starting with, I mean, trading for left tackle Ali Marpet, signing Joel, or I think he traded for Joel Bitonio, signing Xavier Howard, Quandre Diggs, drafting
Trading
Brandon
for
Mann.
trading for Xavier
Oh,
Howard.
okay.
He traded well.
Oh, right. Drafting Brandon Mann and tight end Taylor Whitfield, both who had Dev. He's definitely going to be starting Jalen Hurts now at quarterback because Drew Brees retired, Greg Olson
Yep.
retired. And other than that, the two major
Uh,
losses for him were Charles Leno Jr. and Everson Griffin.
didn't he just trade for? Yeah, he just traded for Tyrann
Oh,
Mathieu.
that's
So,
right.
so
Forgot to
I mean,
include that.
he got a lot of really good guys. I don't necessarily like the Tyron trade for me is kind of a another example of Corb going for these older guys when I thought Rap was good. I thought Rap was good enough to be on a Super Bowl team. But if you really think that Tyron's going to make you that much better, you have to go for it. So I get it.
Yeah, I I think in Corb's mind, I think this is unless something dramatic happens, I think this year is the last year for Russ to really make a run at the Super Bowl. So I think in
Yeah.
Corb's mind, I think Corb thinks he can catch him, which I actually kind of agree with. It all depends on Jalen Hurts because
Right.
in Carolina he like put up pretty good stats, but because of either the Ravens playbook or the old sliders, he didn't actually like get wins. So
Right.
I'm curious to see, and honestly, this is probably Hurts' last year getting good XP. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would guess so. Um so let's go ahead and I guess pick the division winner for this one.
Yeah.
Who do
Before
you
before
uh,
we do,
Oh,
we had
yeah.
we had 10 people send in their division predictions and Super Bowl predictions. So shout out to you guys. We got stuff from Will, Kevin, Pode, Vince, Cirilio, Roy, Lee, no other one, Ryan, and Cody. And
Chris also posted his in the content, I'm pretty sure.
oh yeah, Chris, I'm sorry, I totally forgot to add him because it wasn't in my DMs.
For
So that's
sure.
on me. But yours will definitely count. Um, so I'll just run through who everybody picked in the division if you want.
Yeah, that works.
How about this? Since this one was pretty much a landslide, everyone, uh, we only had one, two, four people, excuse me, not pick the 49ers to win the division. Will pick the Seahawks. Cirilio picked the Cardinals, and no other one picked the Seahawks.
Okay.
And I guess it was just three. Yeah. So everybody else picked the 49ers, and it seemed this and the NFC South were pretty much chalk, and the
Lands.
NFC North.
Yeah. Um I guess the one question I have about this division, they've sent at least two teams every season. Do they continue that trend, and can they send three again this season like they did the first? Or no, they only sent two the first year. So can they send three to the playoffs this season?
I think they have a lock for at least two. I mean, unless
Yep.
some weird injury thing happens with either Seattle or San Francisco, they both should be locks to make the playoffs. And then I could see either Roy or Corb making the playoffs. Um, I
Yeah,
I would probably pick Roy just because we kind of know what we're gonna get with Kyler Murray. Jalen Hurts, I feel like is still a question mark at this point.
for sure. Um so moving on to the NFC East. This is where the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Cowboys, reside, and also two other playoff teams with the Washington and the Eagles both made the playoffs. So a really good division that last year we really underrated. I think going into it.
Yeah, we both did not like this division last year. and we were just wrong. Like the Eagles were a lot
Yeah,
better, Washington was a lot better. Cowboys actually finished kind of where we thought they would, but we didn't have them in the Super Bowl. But
right.
so we can start with Dallas and no other one. So obviously won the Super Bowl, had a nice draft in free safety John Farrell and corner Nick Bonds. Both of those guys are good. Um, he lost a good bit. He lost Teron
He
on Armstead and corner Anthony Brown and strong safety Jaquiski Tart. Um, and his offensive line is getting older as well. He probably has this year and next year to really compete for a Super Bowl before regression really affects his team. But
for sure.
the good news is Sam Darnold is superstar dead now and
Right.
he has him under contract. Well, actually, I think has a pretty good contract for the next. I think it was
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. So he's in a good spot. And with Zeke, he's in a good spot to compete.
Yeah, he definitely is. This team is probably it's probably the best in the division. I know he didn't win the division last year, but that was because of an injury to Zeke
Right.
that really set him back down the stretch that ended up causing him to go lose a bunch of games in like weeks. I think it was like 9 to like 15. He just kind of couldn't get a win, and then he came back and just dominated in the playoffs. Um, so moving on to Rebel, obviously traded Dwayne Haskins to the Steelers, and then drafted Brian Sharp.
Yep.
That's his name, right?
Yep.
And sent him to Dragon and gave him normal to star dev. Um, let's talk about the Brian Sharp. I would guess we'd say it's a reach, but I guess he had no other choice. He wasn't going to be able to probably come back and get him, especially since we know Blair's CPU was going to take a quarterback regardless.
Yeah. I mean, trading away Haskins, I understand it. I I don't know. I still thought Haskins was fine. Like if you're gonna, what I'm surprised about is I'm surprised he traded Haskins away and didn't try to sign a veteran. Like I thought Aaron Rodgers was where he was gonna go
He was
here.
going.
Yeah, like I thought Rodgers on this team, he becomes an instant division kind of contender with that defense. He also lost center Alex Mack, AJ Green, and Eric Berry. But I mean, he had a nice offseason too. He replaced him with he has Marquise Pouncey, Charles Leno Jr., David Njoku at tight end, Sammy Watkins, and Melvin Gordon. So like he's got a solid team, and I'm surprised he went with Brian Sharp instead of getting a veteran like Rodgers, or heck, even a guy like Jared Goff who had a nice year with Jacksonville last year.
You said that. Did you say Sean? Because he sent predictions too. He said
Mm,
maybe he didn't.
let me see.
Because he said he, but you have my predictions right, Sam. I guess I wasn't looking at the chat. That could have been a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I got him.
Okay, yeah. All right, we're good then. Um, sorry about that. I just saw it and I was like, oh, I should say something.
Yeah,
Um,
Sean, sorry, I didn't have my Excel sheet open far enough, so your name didn't pop up. That's my bad.
um. So yeah, I agree with you on Washington. I really thought like they were gonna go for a veteran, and Rogers or Stafford would have been good, but I think the surprise of the draft was how good Brian Sharp actually was.
Yeah,
As far as as like overall, I didn't. I'll take a look now because I know that
he's
you
a
had Dragons, so it's
he's a seven. He was a 70 when he was drafted.
right,
I honestly thought if he was a 67, I'm like, okay, and you take him in like the second or third round, like that's a win in my book. But him being a 70 and you can especially getting him to star dev, like that pick is now defensible. It's not what I would
right.
have done, but like I get it.
So looking at his traits real quick, he definitely got upgraded, so he must have had average sense of pressure because he's at ideal. But he does have the aggressive forcing passes, and that can be a problem, but it's not terrible.
Right.
I want to. He is a strong arm, so hopefully he doesn't hang around in the pocket too long. But he will. And the other thing is he is 23, so I mean Haskins is only 25, I think. So I don't know. It's kind of. I get where he was coming from, but it's not something that, like you said, I would have done or you would have done. There were other needs on this team that could have been filled before him. But as we saw with the next quarterback who got taken, it was a huge drop off between quarterbacks. So
Yes, it was.
So let's go ahead and we'll do the Giants next, since they are technically leading this division or leading the Eagles right now. I mean, I think Ricky Giles is still the quarterback. So do we need to say much more about him?
Yeah.
I mean, he had some good moves in the offseason. So.
Yeah, we both loved the CJ Rogan draft pick, the center. He was a 76
Absolutely.
overall. He also picked Clint Williams, the right end, who ended up being good. He released Logan Ryan and right end BJ Hill. But I mean, this team's still bad. Like,
yeah,
he's going to be picking in probably the top 5 this year.
Don't say that, because we said that last year and he ended up at 10. So like, let's hedge our bets a little bit. Top 10.
I'm saying top 5, but
I'll hedge my bets then. I'll say top 10.
That's fine. I mean, Ricky Giles is fine. Like, he's at least fun. He's fun to watch on streams.
Right.
Especially when you have at least 2, if not 3 teams who are going to be contending for playoffs. Like, you're just going to get beat up.
Right.
We'll finish this division off with Ryan, who also struggled down the stretch a little bit last year. Some of his defenders got injured, Hutchinson specifically. He lost corner AJ Bouye, tight end Jordan Reed, left end Josh Sweat, corner Isaiah Oliver, and free safety Rodney McLeod from this team last year. But he drafted actually pretty well. He had he had 4 guys that were 70 or better. So he did a nice job of replacing guys he let walk, and then he signed center Ryan Jansen, and wide receiver Valdez Scantling, and tight end Max Williams. So it was a nice offseason for Ryan.
Yeah. I'm going to do a normal to star upgrade real quick for the Texans, because he sent it to me and I forgot to put it in the chat. So that's all I'm doing here, people. Nothing shady, and then I'll post it later. I'm on. I might as well do it. So Ryan has a lot of guys on expiring contracts this year. What do you think is the future for this team? I think this year they'll probably still be good, but does Ryan bring a lot of these guys back?
I would be surprised, just because he's got so many guys that are. He doesn't have that sweet spot. He doesn't have a lot of like 25 to 28-year-olds. He has a bunch of 22 to 24-year-olds, and then a bunch of people who are 29 plus. So the timeline of this team as a whole doesn't really match up. I really wouldn't be surprised if he started out like 1-2 or 2-3. If he kind of just throws in the towel and tries to trade some of these older veterans for picks.
Yeah. I like Ryan's team as a whole. I think there's a definite quarterback problem, because I don't like Carson Wentz. I don't think that Carson Wentz is going to win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, but that's just my opinion.
I think if he does, I don't know. I agree with you, but the thing with Wentz is, like, he can look amazing in streams, and then he'll have games where he throws 4 picks, and he kills you.
Right.
There's just not a lot of consistency there.
Yeah. So who does everybody have winning this division?
So this was a little more spread out. The majority was Cowboys. Myself, you, Kevin, Pode, Cirilio, Roy, Lee, and no other one, of course, had the Cowboys winning the division. While Will, Pode, no, sorry, Will, Vince, Ryan, and Cody had Washington, and Sean actually had Philly.
Interesting. So a nice mix there. Um, I could see, like, I like the Washington pick, and I almost made it, but I'm really concerned about a young quarterback in this division. Um, and I don't know who they play this season. I don't know if they have what other divisions they have, but I should have went to team. Why did I go to? Because that could make a huge difference if they have a soft schedule. Oh, they have the AFC South, so
It's about as soft as you can get
and then the
outside of the
NFC
AFC
North
West.
and the NFC North, so could be
Uh,
interesting. I mean,
yeah,
the Vikings are tearing it down. The Bears have a great defense, but their offensive is
yeah.
suspect at best,
Oh,
and they're
don't take my line when we get to the Bears. That's what I was going to talk about.
you know so yeah I it could be very interesting to see how this division plays out. I'm curious also to see what no other one does with Tony Pollard if he can actually find somebody to trade for him.
Um, I'm surprised no one's taken him up on it yet, to be honest.
Well, I
Because
don't know
he's
what he's asking for, and you know,
yeah.
a team that I would have thought would have made that move would have been the Texans, who got a good quarter or a good running back in the draft. Um, so we can move on to the NFC South and talk about
Best division in football
yeah.
right here.
So this division has had the Buccaneers and Panthers win it, but they only sent one team in last year. They sent the Panthers in. The year before they did send in two with the Falcons and Bucks, but both those teams seem to be rebuilding right now. And the Panthers are a team bereft of anyone who is under the age of 44. So let's go ahead and oh, here Chris put his picks in the chat. So he had the Niners winning the West and the Cowboys winning the East. So,
No
so
shocks
let's
there.
start with let's start with the Saints, who had a really nice offseason. They added Grady Jarrett, they added Ed Oliver, drafted Jonathan Moses, who was okay. He wasn't great, but he was okay. And in this draft, he probably was great. Um, Signed C.J. Mosley. What move do you think for your team was the most impactful for going
Probably
forward?
probably Grady Jarrett. I mean, that's easy to say because he instantly becomes the best player on my whole team in terms of overall. But I'm making the switch to a 4-3 this year, and what really inspired the move was I saw the Washington and Eagles and 49ers and Colts all be really good with pass rush. So my goal for the offseason was to at least get one other good pass rusher, and I ended up getting two with Ed Oliver and Grady Jarrett. So now I have four guys on the defensive line with Marvin Wilson and David Bowen who can get after the quarterback. So that was my big goal. And Mosley was nice. I didn't actually think I was going to get Mosley. And then I also got free safety Jordan Poyer in that deal with
Oh,
Bills as well.
oh,
And
nice.
I ended up signing Philip Lindsay as my backup running back because Latavius Murray is old.
Right. So for me, the biggest impact move you got was not signing Rick Wagner. I mean, obviously.
You,
No, but
you monster.
but but for real, I actually think it's Ed Oliver just because of the
Okay.
age.
Yeah.
Ed Oliver and Marvin Wilson now combine to be probably the best young duo outside of Washington, I would say, outside of Montez and uh, Chase Young. So I think that's really nice for you to have those two young guys there. Um, Offensively, where does Jonathan Moses fit into this team?
Um, so right now I have him as the number two.
Okay.
Just seeing where that gets him. He's not really fast, but Seth Williams is 95 speed. Anthony Schwartz is 97 speed. I'm playing Schwartz in the slot, and Seth is the one. And watching a few minutes of my preseason stream with Bills earlier today, the first two drives, Jonathan Moses had 5 catches.
Oh, nice.
So I think I think he's going to be a target monster. I don't know if he's going to have like a whole. Like, I don't know if he's going to have a bunch of yards, but I think he's going to be really impactful. Like Jalen Waddle was for the Lions being able to move the chains last year as a rookie. I envision him being that kind of role. Probably only going to have like 3 or 4 touchdowns, but if I can get like more than 800 yards, I would be pretty happy.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. I think he's a possession guy. 10 to 15, maybe 20 yard catches. Nothing huge, but always a guy who's a threat to get you a first down. So technically the Falcons are in second place right now in the preseason. So let's talk about Falcons, and it's an ugly situation in Atlanta right now.
Yes, yes, it is.
They are old, they're regressing, and they don't have. You're right, Vince. They don't. Um, and they don't have a path to getting a lot better right now. Unless there's a quarterback in this draft that ends up being really good, and they end up being worse than they probably will be, because I still think this is probably a 5 to 7 win team.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. If you kind of look at their offseason, they obviously, traded Grady Jarrett. They let Chris Harris walk. They let running back Ito Smith walk. Will Park, the strong safety, walked. But they had a nice draft. They drafted one, two, three, four. They drafted 5 guys who are a 70 or above, led by wide receiver Monty Burton, who I think is going to be pretty good. They also signed left guard Matt Paredes. The problem with this team is Matt Ryan has regressed super hard and is making a lot of money. And
right.
he also brought back Teddy Bridgewater. So I don't know who he plans on starting, but I think the move is to continue just to trade away players. I still think he can get a good bit for Julio. And I think we talked about I think he's eventually going to trade Julio. I don't see why you would want to keep him on this team.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be an ugly. I think it's going to be an ugly, especially if he does keep Julio, and he goes like like you said, like 7-9, where he doesn't make the playoffs, but he's also is at like pick 12 or 13. That's the worst spot to be
Right.
in.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be. Um, yeah, so moving on to Larry and the Bucks, just so everybody knows, Larry is actually a vampire. Don't tell him I told you that though. Um, what was the biggest move that they made this season outside of letting Tom Brady go? Because they kind of had to move on from Brady. Because unless you're a madman, you don't sign a 70-year-old quarterback.
Um, I guess it's either one of two. I guess the combination of trading away Ali Marpet to the Rams and also letting Carlton Davis walk, which is pretty surprising because I know Carlton was only a normal dead, but he was still young. And I think he was an 81, and he wasn't asking for too much money. But I guess the move that surprised me the most was signing Josh Allen. Um, because Madden doesn't typically favor Josh Allen that much, and I thought there were better veteran quarterbacks that he could have brought in. Like he could have. I much would have had Jared Goff than Josh Allen. If I'm being honest. So I guess I just don't really know where this team is going because they still have Ronald Jones, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, but
Yeah.
and the defense is not very good. There's not a lot of good players on this defense, so I don't know what Larry plans on doing.
I think he's in a very similar situation to the Falcons. I think that he's not quite good enough to compete for a playoff spot. Maybe he's right there, but he also has a low floor where he could end up going 4-12, which might not be bad enough to get a top 5 pick and hope that there's a quarterback there. But if there's a quarterback there and you don't have the number 1 pick, you're not going to get that quarterback because somebody's going to trade up and take him. Because I think we know for a fact now, through several drafts that I've seen, that quarterbacks are a commodity that's not going to be an every year thing.
Right, for sure. And Rebel got lucky with his being a 70. Like somebody could do that this year, and second round Grady's probably going to be a 70, 71, and he could be a 65, and then your whole franchise is tanked.
Right. Yeah, so let's move on to the Panthers, who had a different offseason. I mean, still trading all their picks for guys who are, older and on big contracts, but that's kind of been Kevin's MO for 2 years in this league when he's been around. He's always been a guy who kind of shoots for a championship every year, regardless of the cap implications, because he'll just trade him away before he resigns.
Yeah, I mean, trading away Michael Thomas and getting back Cooper Kupp, I like it. Signing Kerryon Johnson, I thought was good. Trading for Dre Greenlaw. He also signed Ryan Kerrigan and wide receiver Josh Reynolds. He let Mike Davis go, which I was a little surprised about because he raved about Mike Davis for the whole year. And he also let
Yeah.
CJ Mosley go, and I thought CJ Mosley played really, really well for him. I don't know if it was just a cap thing.
I think if you could go get Greenlaw and not have to pay Mosley, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and then he let Marquise Pouncey walk, which was fine.
Yeah, Marquise is on the tail end of his career. Yeah, he's still, high 70s, low 80s, but he's definitely a guy who you never know, he could be retiring this next offseason.
Right. The biggest thing for Kevin, I feel like, is he's in a pretty weak division. I'm probably going to be his main competition, and I don't think my team is that good yet. So he's going to be playing what I would consider two below average teams in the Falcons and Bucks. So he's going to get some of those wins, some of those extra wins. But
yeah, he'll get some cheap wins for sure.
Baker's also a scrambler now. This will be his first full season as scrambler, so I'm really curious to see how he plays.
Yeah, for sure. So who did everyone have?
This was almost a straight sweep.
I know one person didn't pick the Panthers,
at
least.
Everybody except Shirilio and Sean picked the Panthers, and Shirilio and Sean both picked the Saints, which is pretty funny. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate it.
There's some love for the Saints out there. I mean, I don't know what team they watched last season because it wasn't
mine. No, I don't know. I think they were watching actual Saints highlights.
I have seen that D-line, Sean. I still don't trust that the secondary is good enough, but if the D line plays as good as they can or as good as their potential, they definitely could win the division off the strength of that. Um, so moving on to the North, this is a
I would say boring. This is a boring division.
for me it's interesting because there's a lot of things at play here that are a lot uh, different than any other division because there's not a lot of divisions where one team is clearly trying to not win anymore. That was, the last 2 years there were clearly divisions where like the NFC South, the AFC East, even, this division, there were teams that were clearly trying to not win. And now it's clear that the Vikings owner doesn't want to win, which is smart because his team is probably
Old.
average age like 31
Yeah.
and
So
expensive.
it's the league retirement home.
Yeah.
Well, you want to start with Spaz, I guess, or are we going in?
We're going with Vince.
Okay.
So Vince drafted Wooden. Was that his name? I don't
Yeah,
remember
Woodard.
his name.
Yeah.
Woodard. Yeah. Number one overall, and as was the case with most of the other top picks in that draft, he was a normal. So,
Unfortunate.
but he did use his dragons on Woodard. So,
Oh, that's smart.
um,
Smart on you, Will. I mean, Vince, whoever you are.
Vince.
Whoever's in this division.
Yeah. So what moves did Vince make this season that like could make him better or worse? I guess because
Um.
I mean,
Well,
obviously the Woodard pick.
the Woodard pick. He let Kerryon Johnson walk, which I don't even think that's that big of a deal. He also drafted left guard Tommy Kraus and left in Kelvin Brackens, who was over a 70. So I think,
Nice.
the biggest thing for Vince is continuing to develop Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Waddle. Like, to me, that's the
For
only
sure.
thing that really matters. The defense is, I don't think, going to be good this year. If he can just get Woodard stats and continue to develop the offense, I think he should probably shoot for not picking number one for a third year in a row.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
would
think
agree
he
with
will.
that.
I don't think he's the worst team in the league.
No. There's a team that has a bot running it in Buffalo. That's the worst team.
For sure.
I'm just kidding. It's in Las Vegas, but
It's
still.
two bots. What about you? What do you think?
I really like this Lions team a lot. I think they're in a similar position to you, that they're probably a year or two away from really competing, but I really, really like this team. I really like the foundation that Vince has started. There are a couple spots where he could make some upgrades, but I look at it as Lawrence, Waddle, Woodard, Kraus, and the kid from Ohio State, the guy from Ohio State. I can't think of his name. Jesus Christ. He was an actual draft pick.
Yeah, that's bad. Oduka.
Oh yeah,
Jeff.
Okuda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna
I think that's a
the
really
entire league mad at us because they're all Ohio State fans.
right. Well, that's go blue.
Oof.
I don't really think that. Don't anybody think that that's real? I think that's a really good foundation for a team. I think you've got guys at almost every spot, like every level of the team, that are really good. And I even like DeAndre Swift. I know that. Hey, I was just getting there.
He's okay. DeAndre Swift
I like.
sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I like DeAndre Swift. I think that he's a nice compliment to those other guys. And I mean, honestly, Kenny Galladay's still there and still fairly young. So I don't think this is a team that's winning the division this year, but I definitely think it could win the division next year.
I don't know. Will's team is really good.
Yeah, Will's team was trash, and They should feel bad about themselves.
Okay. All right.
They
Well,
didn't win a Super Bowl
don't get
last
mad
year.
at me this time. I'm not. I didn't do any of
Vi-
this.
Vindication. Hey, I like DeAndre Swift, Vince. I just said I liked him. So moving on to the Vikings, they just traded Eric Kendricks. I don't know which one it is. The one who didn't get arrested for embezzlement or whatever, insider trading.
I think it was
I'm
Michael.
just Yeah, I don't. So they just traded Kendricks. They still have a really good D line with Daniil Hunter and Yannick Ngakoue. But outside of that, it's a lot of older pieces. I mean, I think this team still has Kyle Rudolph on it. It still has Adam Thielen. The corners are bad. This is just a bad team all around. I mean, Kirk Cousins is still here, making $35 million this season. Okay, so it's Eric.
He signed Cam Newton.
Okay, I mean, I don't hate that move. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
I mean, he also he didn't draft. He got handed Max Harris, the wide receiver
Yeah.
from Auburn. And he has superstar dev, so that's a nice building block with him and Justin Jefferson.
Yep, and then I mean, if you look at the trio of Max Harris, Justin Jefferson, and Irv Smith, that's really nice. But he's got an overpriced offensive line for what they produce because they give up a lot of sacks. Now, some of that falls on Kirk being a statue back there, but this team is, I think, maybe the furthest away from actually competing out of any team we'll talk about today.
Yeah, the nice part is
Griffin's
Griffin's not gonna have to try to tank. It's just gonna happen naturally.
Right. Yeah.
And if I was him, you can still get something for like some of his older guys. It's not going to be much,
Right.
But just the fact of getting them out and being able to play your young guys is way more valuable than trying to get like 2 extra wins.
Right. I don't have much to say about this Vikings team. It's a new owner, so we don't know exactly what he's going to do. We'll have to wait and see. Moving on to the back-to-back defending division champs in Will and Green Bay. Jordan Love played a lot better than I think any of us really could have expected last year.
Yep.
A.J. Dillon was fine last season. He still has a really good receiving core with Devontae Adams, Devontae Parker, and Preston Williams. What guy leaving was the biggest surprise for you, for Will?
I guess a logical choice would be Rick Wagner because he was a 2-time All-Pro offensive lineman. But he was also old, so I kind of get it. I'm actually going to say Xavier Howard. Like I thought Xavier played really well, and I think he got a younger guy back right in that deal.
Yeah, David Long.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
That's about it. Will didn't make a ton of moves. He traded for David Long and AJ Epineza from Buffalo.
Yep.
And he also signed Akeem Hicks, so he continues just to build that defensive line.
Yep. I mean, he's got probably 5 or 6 guys who could rotate in on that defensive line, and he'll be fine. Yeah, I really like what Will's done with this team, despite my constant hate on the podcast. It's mostly a bit because Will's too nice to like actually be that mean too. I guess let's go to Spaz because I guess I need to formally apologize to Spaz on air for forgetting to turn off the injuries yesterday.
Yeah. Poor Minshew.
But I think I did you a favor. This offense is still really bad. I think. I don't know what you think.
Oh, it's bad.
Maybe the worst offense in the league? Question
mark? it's definitely up there. When he traded for Minshew, I gave Spaz the benefit of the doubt because Blair really didn't have any weapons for Minshew. So I thought, okay, going to Chicago where you can argue they have better weapons, and he just hasn't looked that great.
Yeah. Well,
And
and now you would say completely the opposite. You would say Blair has way more weapons, and now Chicago doesn't really
bingo,
have any.
bingo. That's what
Uh,
I was gonna
they did
say. Because
they did draft Monty Burden, right? Or was that somebody else?
that was somebody else. He brought in Robert Woods and Zay Jones, but he let Anthony Miller walk.
Oh, that's the Falcons. That's right. They took yeah.
They
So
took Derek
yeah.
Ware, which really really good pick, but this defense is going to outclass the offense if it hasn't already.
Oh, I mean it's clearly the better unit. I mean, yeah, he has a Lloyd McCord. That's what I was thinking of. I mean, 21-year-old rookie, but I mean Robert Woods and Cole Kmet are his top receiving options, and I don't know if that's good enough to get it done in this division. But like you said, his defense is clearly above his offense right now. Like it's head and shoulders above it. There's no comparison really,
Mm-hmm.
but the problem is when you have a quarterback who turns the ball over a couple times a game, that's way more times that your defense has to be out there. So more opportunities for them to give up scores.
Yeah, if I was Spaz, I would be trying to trade Khalil Mack. He doesn't make any sense
Yeah.
on this team. This team's not going to be competing as long as Minshew's the quarterback. I would try to trade Mack for either picks or young offensive players, and then try to find a different QB next offseason. Because there's going to be a host of veterans every year that you can come in who are going to play way better
Yeah,
than
I
than
agree.
Minshew.
Um, who wins this division according to everyone?
Boy,
I think it's
you would think this would be a sweep, right?
no. I bet there's some people who think the Lions win this division.
Nope. Everybody except
No,
one person picked the Packers, and
who
Vince chose
picked
the Vikings.
Vince?
Yep.
Vince. What the fuck? Yeah, I mean, maybe he didn't know the Vikings were gonna go full tank on the season, but I mean, I like
It's original.
the yeah, it's you're going against the trends.
Good for you,
So
Vince.
moving on,
Do you
moving
want to
on to
do you
the
want to
AF.
break before we go to a different conference and do some questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do that. Super Cam.
Um,
Okay, I mean,
let's do this. This question is from Ryan. Which NFC team will beat Cody in the Super Bowl?
uh,
I think the obvious answer is the 49ers, but then again, we
I
said
know,
that
but
last year.
right.
To me,
Um,
it's one of three teams. To me, it's either the 49ers, the Seahawks, or the Packers.
you know what? I'm gonna the Panthers.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Now, now I've
they're
seen it all.
they are my pick to come out of the NFC
Which,
to the Super Bowl, which I
yeah,
bet that was surprising to you.
yes, it was. It's also surprising how many people picked the Panthers to come out of the NFC. I don't get it. I guess it'll be my turn. I'll be the
No, you
Panthers
you
hater
were
this
not picked
year.
last. You're the
Um,
hater this year. See, Kevin
I'll be
send all
I'll be
his
the Panther hater. I don't get it. Like I think his team is good, but I don't think he's not better than the 49ers or the Packers.
yeah. I
Like
said that a lot last year too, and then he beat both of them, or
I,
at least one of them. He beat the 49ers. Like so,
I don't get it.
you know I was gonna be even weirder and say the Washington football team, but I was like, I picked the Panthers to win or be in the Super Bowl. I can't go away from that. So Sean asked a question. What you didn't actually answer who you thought. Oh yeah, you did. You said the three teams. Duh. Um, Sean asks, after the draft has been completed, who are your favorites for offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year?
I
Um,
think offense, we both had the same answer.
do we? Who's
Uh,
your answer?
um, I
I
like
didn't answer
Glenn.
this.
I like Glenn to
Okay,
run
yeah,
back for
that.
the Texans. I guess the easy answer is the QB for Washington because Madden favors QBs in these awards. But I think Glenn's going to get a ton of carries, and yeah, I'm picking him. I like Glenn.
I'm gonna go with. Hmm. I'm gonna go with Taylor Whitfield, the tight end for the Rams.
You know he's out for the first like 4 games, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
Glenn's gonna be out for the. No, never mind. I forgot he was out. I'm gonna go Anthony Perez, the tight end for the Bucks. Then I'm picking a tight end. I'm going weird with this. I don't know. I feel like if he starts the young guy instead of Allen, I feel like the young guy's gonna target the tight end a ton. And if he ends up starting if he starts Allen, I still think he ends up throwing. The so yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with the tight end Anthony Perez. I don't know, man. I'm trying not to be the same.
What
Like
about
I'm trying to be.
defense?
Defense. I'm going Woodard.
Yeah, I think Woodard's an easy answer. Yeah, I'm going.
Actually, no.
I'm going.
I'm going JoJo Brewer. Well, let's just throw it all out there.
Okay, I'm going Woodard.
No, it's Woodard. It's Woodard, and it's. Should I just advance the league? Let's see if anybody said anything in the chat. I'll just advance it since I'm here.
Going to week 1 live.
And I'm going to make sure to turn on the injuries.
Brownie buddies.
So people don't get. So people don't think. So we don't forget it for like 8 weeks again.
I'd be okay with it.
Do you have an? Do you have any other questions that we can do right now?
Yeah, this question was sent in by Vince. Which NFL GM QB would you want to be? Take into account location, money, surrounding talent, and hairstyle.
Which NFL GM QB would I want to be taking into account? Money, location, and hairstyle? Who do you got? Because this is a different one. I've not what I expected.
If it's a football answer, the easy answer is Watson. Because you can just throw the ball up to Diggs. And honestly, you can just hand the ball off 30 times a game to Wyrick, and you don't even have to do anything. So it's either Watson, but if I'm going with like someone who doesn't play in the Northeast, um, probably Jalen Hurts, to be honest.
I'm
Like
gonna
it,
go.
like
Okay.
you go from living in Philly to living in Charlotte to then living in LA, and you're in Tuscaloosa for 3 years and Norman, Oklahoma for a year. Like by far and away his best living situation. You get to play in a new arena. You get to play with OBJ. I'll pick Hurts.
I'm gonna go with. God, this is tough. The hairstyle because I just really want to go with like with Lawrence just because I want those long flowing locks. I'm gonna go with, but I don't want to live in Detroit. Like that's the problem.
Right.
Um,
10 out of 10 would not recommend.
I'm gonna go with Trey Lance. I'm gonna go with Trey Lance
Oh, okay. Sure.
because I really like New Orleans. So
Minshew is a good answer. Also not a huge Chicago fan.
yeah,
I mean, it's
the
okay.
problem is the guys with the best hair all live in the worst spots.
Yeah.
Like Like, I don't know. Russell's got some terrible hair. Russell Wilson, I hate his hair. I could live up in Seattle, be rainy
Oh,
all the
I
time.
guess I guess Herbert would have been a cool answer too, because you're in
Uh,
LA as
I,
well.
I,
But
and
he
he's got some pretty good hair.
he's also just bad.
Yeah. Um. So I guess I have some questions from Cody. Um. Let's see where they were. They're all about the what will fail the Patriots this year? What will cause them to lose? In the Super Bowl, I assume is what he means. I'm gonna go ahead and say kicking again. I think the kicking is gonna cost him again this year.
Um, I'm gonna say injuries.
He has been fairly injury free for 2 years, so it would be about time for him to suffer some.
Darnold might not be a
Uh,
bad choice. That's fair. Darnold would be a good choice too. You get to live in
I don't
Dallas. You
like.
already won a Super Bowl. That's pretty good. That's a good choice.
Um, so you ready to move on to the NFC or AFC
Yeah.
West?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh boy. I can't wait to talk about this.
Ugh.
I'm
Do we
so
have to?
excited.
Do we have to?
It's such a weird
Um.
division.
All right. So the Chiefs have won this division. No, they lost it last year. Never mind. Broncos and Chiefs have won this
Put
division
some respect
respectively.
on Justin Fields' name, sir.
um. Well, the Chiefs like started coming back towards the end of the season as they did in the first year. Um. So let's go ahead and talk about the Broncos.
Heck yeah.
Obviously, Justin Fields is still there. They still have a really good receiving core. Um, they're still probably one of the top two teams in this division, especially with some of the trades that had to be made today for the other team to get under the cap.
Yes. Um,
Um,
so in the offseason, Serrano, Melvin Gordon's not there anymore. Royce Freeman's not there. Safety Kareem Jackson's not there. I don't know if Gerald McCoy isn't there, if he retired. But all those guys are gone from Denver. Um, Serrano didn't have a great draft. He didn't draft anybody above a 70, um, which that really sucked. I was honestly kind of disappointed with Denver's offseason. So I thought they were in prime position to kind of take that next step forward. I know they won the division, but they kind of slipped up toward the end of the year. And I thought
yeah,
they could have get a lot better. But they did trade for Kendricks, who is good. They still have Donald. They brought in Tevin Coleman and Danny Shelton. So, I mean, this team is good. Like, they also benefit from playing in a division with a literal bot and Phil.
yeah,
So,
right. No offense, Phil. I like you. Um, I really like this Broncos team still, even though I don't think they had the best offseason. I thought what they did in season last year, trading for Aaron Donald, just gives them a notch above a lot of other teams, even going into the offseason, because he added one of the best players in the league for not like the worst trade capital to give up. And then to bring in Kendricks for also like it was an overpay for Kendricks for sure, but when you know these drafts aren't going to be that good, overpaying for a guy who's an X factor is probably smart.
yeah,
Um,
I agree. Um, I don't know if I would have used it on X Factor middle linebacker,
right.
but I mean, I get the move for sure. I don't think it's a bad move, but again, I don't think it's a move that me or you would make. But what do we know?
No.
Our team suck. So maybe
Yeah,
we're
I
doing it
mean
wrong.
the bot has beaten me 2 seasons in a row, so I mean I can't really say anything. Um, moving on to the Chiefs, and this is an unfortunate situation. Paul was so far under the cap that he just kind of had to give away. I mean, he was literally trying to trade Chris Jones today for pennies on the dollar. Uh,
He was trading Chris Jones for me. Like I was going to go to the Chiefs.
right,
And
right.
Chris Jones was going to come do this podcast, which might be an
Yeah,
upgrade.
yeah, it might be. I mean, um, but then he did trade Matthew for Rap and a future 2 and a current 5, which again, I don't love the value, but I kind of thought it had to go through regardless. And then trading, this is the move, and you and I talked about this yesterday off air. Trading Kelsey had to be the top priority because
Yep.
he's old and he's signed for 4 more seasons at ridiculous cap hits for the next 4 years.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I was among the ones trying to trade for Kelsey, but he's just like I was looking at his contract, and he still has 3 years after this year.
yep, and they're all at like something like 13 or 14 million.
Yeah, I just didn't want to pay it at the price I was
Yeah,
trying to get, and to be fair, like Paul also did draft pretty well. Like he got Kevin Roach and tight end Dwight McMullen, who were both above 70. And the computer
right.
signed him Jared Goff for nothing. So
Yeah. Um Not much to say about this Chiefs team. It's in a really bad spot,
yeah,
but it
he
still
got
has Tyreek
screwed because
Hill.
of the Mahomes contract, and because Madden doesn't let you get as creative as real life NFL teams do. He's kind of just stuck with this
Right. Madden just
contract.
kind of Madden just kind of throws as much money on it as it can and says, "Oh, that's what they did, right?"
Yeah.
Um Moving on to the bot.
I didn't.
No
I
soda
put
in
in
the
my notes. I don't. I said I don't need notes for this. It's a bot.
Yeah, it's a bot. I mean, I can if people really want to hear me ramble on for another like 20 minutes, I can about how frustrating this team is. But let's talk about what they did in the draft, or I should say, what the computer did in the draft. Took Kyle Weaver, uh, another young receiver who can spend his years getting thrown to by Derek Carr and not catching anything over 8 yards. Took him a superstar X Factor running back who's a 69 overall, who will
Nice.
now probably by the time he's 2 years into the league will be a 73 and will never be worth anything.
That's
Um,
pretty generous, saying he'll be a 73, considering he's not going to get any playing time behind Josh Jacobs.
right, but I'm sure the computer will have him as the focus training, even if No Soda doesn't move him to it. So he'll just get those points. Like it's not going to be a lot, but he'll get random 100 points here and there, and whatever the training is. Like this team, I don't like what the Raiders have in real life or in Madden in general, but they're better than what this Madden has shown us. Like, I mean, just his offensive line is decent. His receiving core should have been good, but I mean, No Soda hasn't made any moves to get rid of some of this dead cap. I mean, you could cut Derek Carr and free up almost $19 million.
We did the math. I think it was yesterday off air, and
Yeah, it was
Raiders could
it
have
was
like
something like
it was almost 60 million in cap space. He could just
no,
have. Was it
it
more
was
than that?
more than that. It was $76 million in cap space that the Raiders could have for guys who like all Tyrell Williams is doing is taking reps away from Kyle Weaver. Kyle Weaver has 96 speed. You could pair him with Ruggs, and you have two guys who have 95 speed and above. I mean, it's Darren Waller you wouldn't want to cut because he's still really good. But I mean, are you really keeping around? Like, why not trade Rodney Hudson? He's not going to help you. Gabe Jackson is a 78, which is fine, but that's somebody that somebody else could use. Trent Brown's making. You could get rid of Trent Brown and get $15 million free, and you could trade him to somebody who needs offensive line help, and they would pay you a really good price. Why is Why is Cleveland Farrell still on this team, and why is his penalty $9.48 million in year 4 of it? Like, Did you pick up his 5th-year contract? Is that what you did? You come in and just like why? You have Max Crosby making $10 million less. Like I don't, why? Like Brock Holland is fine. You just Raekwon is whatever, but Corey Littleton is gonna regress, and he's making $12 million. LaMarcus Joyner is terrible. He's an 86 feet, and you're playing him at corner. These are all guys that could have been moved, and the Caps, like, he could have made bids on a lot of the guys who got big contracts, and he would have won them easily.
Yeah, he could.
And it's just,
it's frustrating, but yeah. We'll say we'll be monitoring the situation in Vegas this year.
Yeah, it's definitely close to a tipping point where something has to happen. With this team has to either be dramatically worse or dramatically better, like one way or the other. I don't care which way it is, honestly. It just can't be 7-9.
Yeah,
it can't go there.
All right, you want to move on?
So moving on to Phil. Yeah, let's go to Phil.
Yeah. Oh, Phil.
Phil, Justin Herbert's your quarterback. He was way worse year 2 than he was year 1. I don't know. I don't know what moves Phil made this offseason. I mean, I did like the pick of defensive tackle Tevin
Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah. A guy who I didn't have scouted who ended up being a really good pick.
Yeah. Phil's biggest problem this past year was that he didn't have his current one.
It's very possible, Vince. It's very possible.
He let Linval Joseph and Justin Jackson walk, which, not big deals. He didn't really sign anybody of significance. So he kind of pretty much kept that core team together, which if you look at it on the surface is not that bad. Like, especially at running back, he has Eckler, who's now hurt the first couple of games. But he also has Todd Gurley, who had a really nice year last year. But Herbert was so bad, it just didn't matter.
Right. Yeah,
his defense is actually really good. Like, his defense is legit, but they can't score 10 points a game on offense, so it doesn't even matter.
I think the key thing here is if Herbert's bad again this season, it's time to cut and run. Phil's in a very similar situation to me, that if Herbert and Tua are bad this season, it has to be their last season starting for their respective teams. You can't. They'll have had.
Well, we got a trade.
Oh.
Paul sends, the Chiefs send right tackle Mitchell Schwartz. Packers send right tackle Ron Swanson and a future second.
Oh, that's not happening. Nobody's trading for Ron Swanson. Get out of here.
Ron Swanson's he's going to KC, it looks like.
Nope. Look at that thumbs down I just put on it. Not happening, Will. You can't trade Ron Swanson. That man will eat all the bacon. Nah, I'll put it. I don't like that, Will, but
you don't like it for Will, or you don't like it for Paul?
I don't like it for Will.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd rather have
Swanson. I
agree. I don't think Schwartz makes you that much better.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to what you were saying about Phil.
So, they'll have had 3 seasons in their respective offenses to make improvements, and if they don't make improvements this season, it's kind of it comes to a head and they have to go. At least in my opinion. Maybe, maybe other people will think differently, but I think that Herbert showed a lot in his first season. Like, Herbert was on his way to winning that Rookie of the Year before he got hurt. He had played really well. He got hurt, and he's been completely different since then.
The Saints broke Justin Herbert.
Yeah, so who do people have winning this division?
Boy, this division's all over the board. So I'll just go this one person by person. I have the Chiefs. You have the Chargers. Uh, Will has the Broncos. Kevin has the Broncos. Pode has the Broncos. Vince has the Chiefs. Cirilio has the Broncos. Roy has the Broncos. Lee also. Lee, no other one, and Ryan all have the Chargers. Cody has the Broncos, and Sean has the Chiefs. I don't understand, why would you pick the Chargers to win this division? They made no
I don't
moves.
know.
They made no
I
moves.
don't know.
And like we all watched Justin Herbert last year. Like he's not gonna wave his magic wand and Justin Herbert's gonna be good again. Like that makes zero sense. And
Justin Herbert for MVP.
The fact that almost half the people who I got lists from picked the Chargers is a disgrace.
I think we all just really liked Phil, so like, leave us alone. We're trying to give Phil some love. He doesn't get nearly enough love.
He doesn't, but he's not getting it from me. That's BS.
I get we didn't look at Chris's for this.
Chris is smart. I'm sure he picked the Broncos.
He picked the Chiefs.
Well, okay. Well,
but that's also before all these moves happened, and I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people realized how bad the cap situation was in.
and by the way, it was really bad.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna do something. We're gonna do something a little different here if he's around.
Are we talking about what we talked about earlier, making Wyrick normal dev?
No. Hold on 1 second.
I don't even know what's happening, folks. This is a surprise to me, too.
Let me message him on the Slack.
Are we going to get to watch a game while we listen
No.
to the podcast? Dang. Well, since we're here, Vince, do you want me or you to stream our week 1 game, boss?
Oh, got to send it again. Dang it. I mean, everybody else knows what is going on. If you're watching the stream, you see what's going on. All right.
Oh no.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Sean to the podcast today to talk about his Buffalo Bills.
Shame.
What's up?
Shame.
Welcome.
What's
So
up?
let's go to the Buffalo Bills. We'll start with the Bills here first. So, Sean, there are a lot of people who don't understand what you're doing out here. So like, walk us through your moves that you made this offseason.
All right. So, I mean, trade away a lot of talent. Still can't trade away Singletary, who's the best running back in the league. So I don't get it. But anyway, so my thought process was to completely rebuild, but rebuild in the way that I saw, fit. So that means destroying everything and kind of building up, right? I mean, aside from Tremaine
Right.
Edmonds, because he's the GOAT, and never gonna trade that guy. But trade everything else. So my idea was get veterans that lead the team in like crucial positions, right? So quarterback, edges, important positions on a team that need to be manned by, players that actually can get the job done, right? Like if you have a
Sure.
if you have a subpar running back, subpar receivers, subpar O-line, like that can be overshadowed by a really good quarterback. If you have bad interior, subpar secondary, that can be overshadowed by a really good pass rush or really good middle of the field coverage, right? So that's kind of what I was going for, and it just so happened that I got, good players in the draft that I can actually put at those other positions that actually make sense for my team. So,
All right, so there's one move that just happened, signing the undrafted free agent to a 3-year, $60 million deal. So, I mean, you didn't offer him the most money, but the playing time was enough for him to go to Buffalo. He's going to be the number 1 corner, I assume.
yeah, so he's taking over the number 1 spot. James Flott is going to be at the number 2/slot position. Antoine Hartwell, who is the only hidden dev player I actually drafted myself, is going to be sliding in that number 3 spot and the number 2 spot whenever Flott moves down to the slot position.
For sure. So, I mean, I saw your prediction today. You said 7-9 worst case scenario, I think was what it was.
So I did like a worst case, best case, and then like what I actually think is going to happen. 7-9 was what I was thinking was going to happen.
Okay.
I said 6-10 was worst case. I mean, I honestly think I'm probably going to go 1-1 against the Patriots this year. For some odd reason, my team always plays him well. We went 1-1 in the first year. He barely beat me in one game last year, and I think the game that he was at home, his team, like, it was close, but the fourth quarter, my team just got fucking smashed.
Okay.
So for some reason, my team plays his really well. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but they always do. So it's kind of. But I think I'll go 1-1 against him. I think I'll go 1-1 against everybody in my division. Honestly, I usually play the division pretty well. And then I think you said something about our divisions like we play against aren't that good. I think we play against the NFC North and we play against the AFC West, right? Or no, we don't play against the AFC West.
I think we have the AFC North.
Oh, we have the
South.
AFC North. We have the North. We got to play Ravens and Bengals and all them. I mean, regardless, I play the Raiders, so that's a free win. And then I have, the NFC North and then the AFC North. So, I mean, I also play the Jaguars, too. So I feel like I have a pretty good shot at least 6 wins, logically. Possibly even better, depending on how hard Aaron Rodgers can actually carry this offense. Because really it all boils down to him, right? If Aaron Rodgers isn't doing well, this offense is shit. It's done. So
For sure.
Because I mean, we saw last year, Derek King's okay, but I mean, he's not about to lead us to wins.
He's at least fun to watch, but you're right. He's not gonna lead you to wins.
He's fun to watch. He's fun to watch for a few games, and then you're like, man, I really wish I could win one. That'd be
right. That would be nice. I feel that.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, I definitely could see your team going 9-7, 10-6 against the teams that we play.
Yeah.
Cody thinks it's pretty funny that you think that you can beat him one game. He laughing pretty hard in the chat.
He literally is the one. Dude, go back on Daddy Leagues and look at the matchups. I think 3 of our games have been one possession, and the one game that wasn't was last year when my team was literally a fucking tank bot and you were at home. All right? Listen, 3 very close games, and now I have, a solid team. All right? That's all I'm saying.
I like it. I like the confidence, Sean.
Also, Thurman Wyrick, I don't think has ran for over 50 yards against me. That player is ass, and his entire team is.
Oh boy.
I guess that'll be your closing statement there, Sean. I'll let you go deal with Cody and Slack. So,
all right.
But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep.
All right.
Bye, Sean.
Later. Hey, man. If he's one thing, he's confident, and I like it. I like the trash talk.
If you're only gonna get a 4-minute segment, you need to bring the fire, and he did.
And Sean brought it. I like it, man.
So I was gonna ask him, how does he feel about, because he has 1, 2, 3, 4 of his top 7 or 8 players are linebackers, and 2 of them are left outside linebackers. So I was gonna ask him how he's going to get all of them onto the field. But, I mean, his team's okay. Do you want to start with the Bills, I guess? Is that where we're going to start officially?
Since we let Sean come on it. Yeah. So, I mean, signed every linebacker that was available in free agency except for C.J. Mosley.
Yep. Can't have him.
Yeah, he's gonna play and he told me this yesterday. He's gonna play his outside linebackers, a lot of them at edge spots.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Chandler Jones is gonna play defensive end.
Okay.
So that makes sense. So he'll have a very, especially moving on from AJ Epinesa and Ed Oliver. It makes sense to play those guys at the edge. I mean, he still has a top 4 middle linebacker, 3 or 4, in Tremaine Edmonds. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Tremaine's pretty easily going to be him and Fred Warner are like 2 guys who I don't think we're going to see move off the All-Pro list, whether it's 1 or 2 for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. Golly, it's just a weird offseason. Like, he does some good things. Like, he drafted Nick Gillespie, Hunter Maddox, and James Flott all in the first round. And all those players are good. Like, those are going to be good players. And, like, I get wanting to move off guys. Like, you let Josh Allen walk. Like, that's fine. You let Micah Hyde walk. Okay, that's fine. I get that. But he traded Ed Oliver and Jordan Poirier away. Okay, he got 2 firsts, or he got a first. Yeah, he got 2 firsts in that deal. So I get that. And then he just brings in all these old guys. Like
you said, I mean, I get his reasoning for bringing in those old guys, because he is right. If you have good core players at certain positions, it's nice. The one thing that, like, and it's where I was going with the signing the undrafted free agent, is 3 years, $60 million is a lot of money. And I like Trey White more than I like this undrafted guy, but at least I guess now he gets this undrafted guy for the core of his years. It's just an interesting offseason, and if it works out, we all look stupid for not doing it. If it doesn't, then we're in the same spot where everybody's like, well, at least he went for it, I guess. I don't know how you...
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just, again, if I'm truly tanking, I'm not going to trade away. Like, he traded away 2 one really good young player in Ed Oliver, and he also traded away his other defensive end,
Epinesa.
Yeah, Epinesa, and then sign old players. Like, to me, that's not...
Okay, but so he just messaged in the chat. So he has 2 first rounders, which is whatever, because New England's is probably going to be low, and his own, if he ends up at 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, it's going to be kind of middle of the road. But these second round picks, he could definitely... He's got 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4 thirds, and then his regular picks, along with an extra third next season. He could package those thirds and seconds to move up further into the first round.
Yeah, I mean, he could, I guess. It's just, again, it's not what I would do. I wouldn't have spent that money on Chandler Jones or Rodgers. I honestly was a little surprised he gave up on De'Aaron King that quickly. But, because, I could send him, I get it, but, like, you could also send him to Dragon Camp for a year and just see what happens.
Right.
But, again, it's not what I would do, but I understand the move.
And I like the confidence.
Yeah, so. And also what Sean has to think about is, like, Chandler Jones is 32, Aaron Rodgers is 38, Hightower is 32, Mitch Morse is 30, K'Wan Short is 33. Like, these guys, like, all these guys are old.
For sure. Like you said, and it's kind of, he's doing what Kevin does to the extreme, except he's also adding draft picks instead of just old, like, really good players. He's adding draft picks along with these older players. So, I mean, he's in a weird spot, I think, but I like Sean's confidence, and I think that I think the Bills are gonna be a fun team to watch this season.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
all right, who do you want to hit next?
Let's go. Let's do the Jets next.
Ooh,
since
good.
So Pode re-signed Dak Prescott, brought in Travis Kelce, brought in Michael Thomas. What other moves did he? I know there were other moves, and I can't think of them right now off the top of my head.
That was really it. He drafted Vaughn Sutton, the corner, but he lost Robert Woods. He lost middle linebacker Kyle Van Noy, center Connor McGovern, and former All-Pro corner Pierre Desir, but
For sure.
he has Quinnen Williams,
Yep.
and
Quinn.
Dak had a really nice year, and Aaron Jones is a monster, and I kind of like Cooper. I'm not saying Cooper Kupp is a better player or a worse player than Michael Thomas.
Wait, no, he traded for Michael Thomas.
Right, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I guess, sorry, I said that backwards. I don't know how much of an
Yeah.
upgrade Michael Thomas is over Cooper Kupp.
So my one thing that I do like, because he still has Jamison Crowder, he still has D.D. Westbrook, and so I like those two guys are definite slot guys. So I mean, you don't want three slot receivers pretending to be outside receivers when they're on the field together. You know, at least two of those guys are playing outside if they're in a three wide receiver set, which makes it weird. Like, it's not really a big deal in Madden, but I get it. You want that big guy who can realistically, I think this is a move with intentions at beating the Patriots.
Right. And he won the division last year at 13-3. So, and to say
was he?
Yeah, he was 13-3 last year.
No. Cody said something. Sorry.
Sorry.
Who am I thinking of then? Who's his other guy who was a slot guy? Pode's not around to correct me. Oh, I guess. Yeah. Oh, never mind. I stand corrected. I forgot Crowder was on the Patriots last year. That's what Cody said.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like, oh yeah. Yeah. No, he beat Cody in the regular season once and lost to him once, and then lost to him in the playoffs. And I think this is more of a playoff move than a regular season win, because I don't think that the Jets have much to worry about with who they're going to play this season. Outside of the Patriots, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And the AFC, I still feel like is still multiple steps behind the NFC in terms of talent as a whole. So I don't think the Jets are going to have any problem making the playoffs unless something just catastrophic happens.
Yeah, a Dak Prescott injury
Yeah.
is the only thing that I could see that would like really hurt them. So moving on to the two-time Super Bowl losing New England Patriots.
Oof.
Cody's team is still really good. They kind of retained everyone outside of trading Trey Flowers to the Rams, excuse me. I don't think there were any major losses. Oh, and Devin McCourty retiring, but he replaced Devin McCourty with Harrison Smith. So I think that's at the worst a lateral move.
Agreed. And I mean, he let Le'Veon Bell walk, but I mean that was a 1-year rental anyway, and Le'Veon didn't even play hardly at all. So I wouldn't even necessarily consider that a loss.
And he's still got Darius Guice out there making $35 million for 5 years. So, like,
you know what? I want to change the question to like, which QB would you be? I want to just which player you would want to be. I would want to be Darius Guice. You never have to play, and you're making big time money, and you just get to win.
That's true. I mean, if I was going to be any player, I don't want to be Stephon Diggs because I have to run like 4 routes a game and I'm guaranteed a touchdown. Yeah, whatever, Cody. $25 million for 5 years. It's still a ton of money to pay a guy who's not playing for you.
You know what is worse? Paying
What?
an undrafted corner $20 million a year.
I don't know if it's worse, but it's definitely weirder.
Oh, I think it's definitely worse, but that might just be me.
I mean, at least that corner is gonna play. He paid him that, and then guys had to sit the first year.
Doesn't that corner have like
87
speed? 87 speed.
He's 87 speed.
That's still not great.
So, and then like looking at Cody's defense, like he's still got Twyman, he's still got Xavier Thomas, he has Ioannidis in the middle. I guess he did let Dante Hightower walk. which whatever, that doesn't matter for Cody really. But he still has probably the best duo at corner in the league, and Jonathan Jones and Stephon Gilmore. There's not much to say about Cody's team. It's going to be really good again. It's probably going to 13-3 to at worst probably 11-5.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, Cody's defense is still really good. He secretly has a lot of old guys. I think we were
we did talk.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Stephon Gilmore's getting. I mean, like just going through Cody's roster. I mean, they're getting older in a division where a lot of guys are getting younger. The Patriots have gone the opposite way. I mean, Graham Gano doesn't matter, but 33-year-old Harrison Smith, 33-year-old Demario Davis, 32-year-old Marvin Jones, 31-year-old Stephon Gilmore, 31-year-old Pierre Desir, 30-year-old David Andrews, Ricardo Allen's 30, Roosevelt Nix is 30. I mean, Shaq Mason's getting older, Joe Thuney, Jamison Crowder, Stephon Diggs is 28, Jonathan Jones is 28, Matt Ioannidis is 28, Will Fuller's 28. Like, I mean, he's getting older. And the 5 teams that'll beat you, Saints. No, you don't play the Saints. Packers, Jets, Dolphins twice, and Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Steelers. So actually, you go 9-7, Cody. Sorry, you're right. It wasn't 5 teams; it was 7. But yeah, so this team is getting older. I mean, like he's got young. Like, I mean, N'Keal Harry's 24, but he's the only guy on this receiving group that's under 28. But the main guy who's young is Thurman Wyrick. I think that as long as Thurman's around, it doesn't really matter.
I can't wait to see what Wyrick's contract extension looks like.
Well, it's gonna be QB numbers.
I hope so.
So I don't think there's much else to say about the Patriots other than they're really good.
The Patriots are good, and yeah, I think we could have stopped there, to be honest.
Yeah. Moving on to the Dolphins.
Woo!
I guess the biggest move for the Dolphins this year was signing Teron Armstead.
Yep.
And Rick Wagner to solidify that offensive line. I mean, I drafted okay, I guess. It wasn't great.
I thought it was good. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, honestly. You had 3 guys above a 70. Oh, here comes Winston. Hey, Winston. Hey, buddy. Yeah, you tell him. Winston believes in you, Kyle.
Thanks, Winston. I'm glad. So yeah, I mean, JoJo Brewer, Joe Proctor, and the tight end's name who escapes me. I can't think of it.
Justin Galloway.
Yeah, Justin Galloway. And then I went from taking 1 million wide receivers last year to taking 1 million defensive ends this year.
Yes, sir.
So I got in a position where I just didn't have anybody else scouted except for the defensive ends, so I just kept taking them. Jesus, Winston.
Yeah, he just poops, so he's feisty.
The Dolphins, the worst part about this season for the Dolphins is that Caleb Farley is suspended for 16 games.
Yeah, that sucks.
So it's unfortunate. JoJo Brewer steps right into a spot, but a secondary with JoJo, Caleb, Roger McCreary, and Byron Jones looks a lot better than one without Caleb Farley. So it's rough, but I mean, this Dolphins team I think is much improved from last year. But as I said with the Chargers, it all rests on what Tua can do.
Yeah, that's the only question mark I had. was I think your team is good, but it really just depends on how good Tua is. If he's about the same as last year and he's kind of disappointing, then I think it might be time to maybe either trade him or try to find
Yeah.
something else.
Um. Yeah, so let's go ahead and I don't have much more to say about the Dolphins. I mean, I covered it in State of the Franchise about a week ago, and then with doing mock drafts and whatnot, we talked a lot about it. So who does everybody have winning the AFC East?
It is a clean sweep for the Pats.
And not surprising.
Yeah,
at all.
I'm a little surprised a couple people didn't pick Pode, but considering they won the division last year, I guess you could say that could be taken as disrespectful to Pode, but this Pats team is just so good.
For sure. So moving on to the ugliest division from last year, I think the AFC South.
Yeah.
And let's switch it up. Let's start because I think actually the Texans are the most interesting offseason. Just because they had that number 2 pick. So let's talk about the Texans. They're really bad still. But they made some moves that I really like. Taking Glenn at number 2 was foremost above of them. That's just a really smart move by Lucha. And then the other pick, Snell, right?
Yeah, really good.
The linebacker. And he used his normal to start on Snell. So, his first 2 picks were really good. He still has a problem at quarterback with, does he play Riddler or Cunningham? But I don't think it's really a problem because it doesn't matter.
Yep, I was going to say it's not a problem because they're both bad.
Well, they're the same guy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're literally carbon copies of each other. Neither one of them is going to throw with any efficiency, and both of them are going to run the ball and probably fumble a lot.
Right, for sure. He also signed Carlton Davis to a big deal in free agency, which I thought was smart because, he has money to spend, and Carlton Davis is an Auburn guy, but he's still young and pretty good. So I like that move. But yeah, getting Glenn and actually having a foundation to build on the offense is huge. And he's going to be bad again this year because of the QB play. So it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't really matter. I'm glad he didn't try to go get a veteran QB like a Cam Newton or Jared Goff and him win 2 or 3 more games than he needed to, because he should want to pick in the top 5 again. Because if a QB does come along, he's going to either be either number 1, 2, or 3, so you can take the QB, or be able to trade up. So I think he had a nice offseason. Duke Johnson is gone from this team, as is right guard Zach Fulton, and left in Sam Hubbard. But other than that, this team's still here. They still stink. So it's gonna be another long year.
At least Lucha is trying to be bad. He's made moves that are clear that he wants to be bad, unlike other users in the league. So
right.
I appreciate that. And Lucha actually talks to me.
He knows who he is.
Right. And Lucha talks to me if I ask him questions, so I appreciate that. So let's just start from the bottom. Jags, what were the big moves for the Jags this offseason? Other than taking the 58 overall quarterback in the 4th round? Or 2nd round, I'm sorry.
So he got rid of both Cam Newton and Jared Goff and tight end Tyler Eifert. He brought in Matt Stafford and Everson Griffin, which, whatever. Stafford had a nice year with Tennessee last year, but Stafford's going into a situation now where it's literally just Jamar Chase. He has he has Marlon Mack on this team as well. But the Jags had the worst rushing offense in the entire league, and he really didn't do anything to improve it. If you want to,
For sure.
the good thing for Blair is that his defensive line is super young. He kind of has that um, like that B tier of defensive line behind like the Phillies, the Washingtons, the whoever's, the Colts.
Right.
That like they're all young and they're all pretty good, as are his corners. But he's got a lot of work to do on offense, and
For sure.
I can't see Stafford making that much of an improvement for this team.
Yeah, I agree. I do think he has more on offense than just Jamar. I think I like Shark and I like Laviska Shenault. Like I like those two receivers. Like they're not like top 10 receivers at the position or whatever, but they're still really good. I mean, Chark is an 86 overall, and Laviscus is a 9 or an 81. So like, it's not terrible, but I mean, Cameron Braid is his starting tight end. That's not great. And it's not like he has a lot of options behind him that make a lot of sense. So Stafford better get really good at throwing to those three wide receivers, or this is going to be a long year for him.
Yeah, because that offensive line is not going to protect him.
Yep. So the Colts.
Could
I
also
don't.
argue the Colts had one of the better off seasons.
Yeah, for sure. Their biggest move, I think, was keeping guys around who were really good last season and surrounding them with even more talent. What was your favorite move that the Colts made this offseason?
Um, it was. I think the easy answer is signing Raheem Mostert from the 49ers. He now has two of the top five running backs in the whole league from last year, and Mostert and Jonathan Taylor. The O line is still good. Drew Lock had a nice year, and the biggest competition he has is Tennessee, and they got significantly worse. And I don't think the Jags got any better. So
Yeah.
to me, if you're Lee and you don't win the division this year, I think it's time to make a move. Because if you can't win the division now with the talent you have, you're just not going to with that team. So that to me, it's the anticipation for the Colts should be at least winning the division.
I agree. I think this team needs to go 10-6 or better. Even if they win the division at 9-7 or 8-8, I don't think that's good enough. I think if they don't go 10-6 or better, like Lee needs to take a really hard look at what is the problem here. Because this team has too much talent to be going 8-8 again.
Agreed.
So moving on to the Titans, they, like you said, they didn't get better. They got significantly worse, I think. I mean, letting Matt Stafford walk and rolling with Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a mistake. I would have much rather had Matt Stafford than Ryan Tannehill, but I get it. You don't want to pay two quarterbacks bigger money than you have to. But
the biggest thing with the Titans for me is Sam just doesn't. He's not very active. He doesn't really make a lot of moves. Like, I'm even fine with letting Stafford walk, but you can't let Stafford walk to play Tannehill. But, I mean, and also he drafted QB Julian Osborne, but he's only a 68 overall. So I hope he starts him. But he also let Roger Stafford and Ben Jones walk, as well as Vernon Hargraves. The problem with this team is that they're getting older really quick. Derrick Henry's almost 30, and I can't see this team competing in the division. So to me, if I was the other Sam, I would be trying to sell. Like, you could still get a good bit for Derrick Henry, because I believe he's 28 or 29 this year. So he still has a few good years left. A.J. Brown is a nice piece. He has a couple pieces on defense he could potentially move, but like I just don't see his team getting getting any better. And he still has Von Miller, who's a 92 now, I believe. So you could trade Vaughn for something to a contender. So I would be trying to sell.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go ahead. Like, this division is ugly, and it's the Colts or nobody else, I think. But who did everybody have winning?
Um, it was almost a complete sweep for the Colts. Vince had the Jags. Um, Cody had the Texans winning this division. Uh, and Sean had the Titans.
Right. Yeah, I think it's Colts or bust here.
Yeah.
So moving on to another really good division, the AFC North, and did State of the Franchise on the Browns the other day, so I've talked about them a lot. I really hate what the Browns did this offseason.
Is that where we're starting?
I'm not.
We're starting with Cleveland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I really hate what the Browns did this offseason. I don't know about you, but I think bringing in Tom Brady is a mistake. Moving Jamie Newman to the practice squad is a big mistake because all that does is guarantee that somebody is going to sign him away from the practice squad.
Yep. So here's his moves that Tyler did. He brought in Brandon Graham, corner Sam Beal, Tom Brady, and T.Y. Hilton. He drafted safety Myron Brennan, which was a good pick. He traded Joel Bitonio. He let Jarvis Landry walk. KJ Wright either walked or retired. And he let David Njoku walk. So the Tom Brady the Tom Brady decision doesn't make any sense. Honestly, dating back to last year, starting Daniel Jones over Jamie Newman makes no sense. It's virtually a wasted pick. It's a wasted pick now with Chuba Hubbard. He's completely lost any sort of opportunity to make an all-rookie team, so his dev is shot already. There's no reason to pick him. Ty didn't have a great year. I'd rather just re-sign Jarvis Landry. The one thing you can say is he has two good offensive tackles in Jedrick Willis and Amari Ryans. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are still young and good. Devontae Smith is good. And his defense is really good. Like Myles Garrett, arguably the best defensive end in football. Denzel Ward's really good. Paulson Adebo is really good. He also has Grant Delpit. So it's just really just the Tom Brady thing. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, Newman could have been, I think he's a 72 right now. Like, I just don't get why you would want to bring in Tom Brady. Like, if you want to do anything, like, if you were happy with Daniel Jones, just start him. But you didn't need to bring in another guy. And then, again, the worst of all was putting Jamie Newman to the practice squad because not only like someone's going to pick him up the second we go to week 2, but that's essentially I think he got him in like what the first or second round of the
I was thinking it was second.
Yeah, like you essentially just wasted that pick. Like his second and third round picks, he just wasted.
Yeah,
and that
because
draft
it was Chuba Hubbard and Jamin Newman. So
and that draft was so valuable. And you just essentially just wasted it.
Yep, there were other guys with Dev on the board when you took Jamie Newman, and Chuba Hubbard was a wasted pick because what good is a 78 overall running back next year to trade? You know, he might be an 80 by next year, but what good is that to trade? Who's going to trade for that? I mean, Cowboys can't get somebody to bite on an 83 overall superstar.
Yep.
So
Sean can't get anybody to bite on Devin Singletary, and he's an 88. So
yeah, and he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
25 years old. Yeah. So running backs don't have value in this league to trade. Like, you're not going to get what you want for them. So for drafting Chuba Hubbard and the Newman stuff, Tyler was way better last year than he had any right to be. I think we could agree on that.
Yeah, I think he definitely overachieved for sure.
So hopefully he can do that again this season, or a lot of those moves are going to come into question.
Yep.
So moving on to Steelers and the new user,
Team Perp.
Yep, Team Perp.
So
I liked a lot of the stuff that he did this offseason.
yeah, so just to recap, uh, let Aaron Rodgers walk, sent Ryan Jensen walk, brought in uh, Dwayne Haskins, also drafted defensive tackle Rashad Armstrong and right tackle Cyril Floyd. Um, this team is good. You know, the last Steelers user really complained about Aaron Rodgers' play, which was unwarranted. Rodgers was one of the best QBs in the AFC. You could just look at the numbers, but he got significantly younger in Haskins and didn't really have to give up a whole heck of a lot to get
Right.
him. But really, this offense begins and ends with Matt Breida. That dude is such a freaking superstar.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Matt Breida is awesome.
this like you could
I
argue
really
this is like the Steelers have the best skill positions as a whole in the entire
yeah.
league with Breida and Juju, Tyler Lockett, and tight end Chase Claypool. Like
Yep.
that's a nasty skill position.
I mean, they might be the fastest team in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Like, or in the league. So on another new user in the Ravens, Mike? Or is that Vikings?
It's both. His name is Mike.
Oh, okay. Came in, immediately won our hearts when asked if he was trading Lamar Jackson, and he said, "What?"
Yeah, and to be
So,
clear, we don't care if you trade Lamar, but at least actually try to get a legit offer.
right. I'm not just like for Rebel. That was a great trade. For the Ravens user, it was a
It was
baffling one.
terrible. It was the worst trade. It was the worst trade I've ever seen.
Yeah. So what were his big moves this offseason?
Um, so for this, I don't really know if we can't really count Mike for this because he didn't make these moves. Um, but the former Ravens user signed wide receiver Robbie Anderson to a pretty long deal. I think it was 4 years. But Mike did sign
Yeah.
Anthony Brown today. He also drafted combine superstar Glenn Owens. And he
Yep.
also drafted Brian Boss, the left tackle, who actually was good, and defensive tackle Devin Dunn. Fullback
Yep.
Patrick Ricard is gone. Mark Ingram is gone, but that was expected. Nick Boyle is gone, and defensive tackle Brandon Williams is gone. The biggest thing for me is this team went 9-7 because Hutch didn't stream.
Yep. This team will
Um,
be much better if the new
yeah.
user at least lets other people stream.
The only concern on the offense I have with the Ravens is it's the J.K. Dobbins show in the backfield now, and he's kind of lost 2 years of development. I just don't know how good or effective he's going to be.
Yep.
But they,
Dude's gonna need a breakout, and he's gonna need it quick.
yeah, but he does have Hollywood Brown, Robbie Anderson, Devin DuVernay, and Mark Andrews. So this is another good receiving core in the
Yep.
AFC North. The defense is fine. Like the linebackers are really good with Glenn Owens coming in, Patrick Queen, and Quan Alexander. And then Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters are a good duo. Marcus Peters is, I believe, 29 or 30 now. So he's getting
Mm.
older. But the biggest thing for me for the defense is the pass rush. The best pass rusher is Calais Campbell, who's really old.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think that's going to be a problem in this division.
For sure. Yeah, it's too early to tell with the Ravens and the Steelers really what their moves are going to be like going forward. But one guy that we know exactly what he's going to do is Cirillo and the Bengals. And last year, this was the most disappointing team in the entirety of the NFL.
Yep.
I don't think it's close. So what moves did he make this offseason to address that?
So Matt Paredes, Brandon Graham, and Philip Lindsay all are gone from this team, but those guys didn't really have a huge impact. The only major signing he had was adding Cordero Patterson. He drafted linebacker Bernie Thompson in the draft. The big thing for him was the moves he made last year.
Yep.
Traded for Tre'Davious White at the deadline. He still has a really good team. He added Zach Ertz as well, and J.J. Watt a
Yep.
couple seasons ago. The biggest thing for
No, that
Cirillo
was
is
all
that
last season. That was all last season.
I was it all last season. Okay, my mistake.
Yep.
Like Cirillo needs to win this year because
Yep.
J.J. Watt is old, Zach Ertz is old, Geno Atkins is old, Keenan Allen is 30. Joe Burrow is now an 86 overall, I believe, and he played better last season. So
Yeah, but he has some terrible abilities.
yes, he does.
I feel bad for Cirillo with those abilities. Yeah, and the other thing about like needing to win is Joe Burrow's going to need a contract soon. And with how big the quarterback contracts are, it's probably going to take up a good chunk of Cirillo's cap.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree. And he went 7-9 last year. I think he kind of came on down the stretch
At the end. Yeah.
but
Yeah, because at one point he was like 3-7.
yeah.
So,
So this division
Go
was
ahead.
pretty wide open. I'll go through who everybody picked for this one. Me and you both had the Bengals. Will, Kevin, and Pode had the Steelers. Vince, Cirillo, and Roy had the Bengals. Lee had the Ravens. No other one had the Steelers. Ryan and Cody both had the Bengals, and Sean is the only one who had the Browns. So I think this division's pretty wide open. The only team I couldn't see winning the division is the Browns. But
yeah, I agree.
you could tell me
Um,
if if Mike came in and streamed 13 out of 16 games and the Ravens went 13-3, I really wouldn't be surprised.
For sure. So I guess that leads us to
Super
who
Bowl.
did everybody have in the Super Bowl?
All right. I'll do everybody's, obviously. We'll start with mine, and I'll give an explanation for mine, and you can do yours as well. So
Yep.
I thought I was being cute, and I was not very cute, it turns out. I had the Jets and the Cardinals. I really like Pote's team.
Yeah.
And I think Roy struck gold at the end of last year with his scheme and playbook change, and it was just a little too late.
Right.
So I really like this matchup. I think Roy is going to have an easy time in the AFC. It's almost like when the Pats and Jets play in the regular season, it's almost like back in the like back when the Warriors were really good and Kevin Durant was there and they played the Cavs on Christmas. Like the game's really
Yeah.
fun, but like it doesn't really matter until you get to the finals.
Right.
That's how I view it.
Right.
Like I don't care if Cody beats Roy 2 times, or excuse me, beats Poe 2 times in the regular
Right.
season. Like all that matters is the playoffs.
For sure. So I had the Jets and the Panthers. I don't know. I threw a lot of hate Kevin's way last season, and I ended up being right. He was kind of a pretender. He got lucky with a Purdy injury against the Niners, I think, and got kind of handled by no other one. So I think Kevin's got a really good team, and I think that there's a lot of players there that are going to take steps forward this season. And like you said, I love Pode's team. I think Pode has a great team, and I agree. I don't care who wins in the regular season against him and Cody, because I think it's going to come down to them again in the AFC Championship game.
Agreed. We'll go to Will next. Will had the Patriots and the Packers. No shock, he has his own team there.
Right.
This will be a fun matchup. Deshaun Watson versus Jordan Love. Both these offenses are really good, so that'd be a fun matchup. Kevin had the Patriots versus the Panthers.
Of course.
Yeah. Pode had the same thing. He had Pats versus Panthers. Vince had Patriots versus 49ers, who we all thought that's who we were getting last year.
Yep.
Cirilio had the Jets and Seahawks.
I like that matchup. That
Yeah.
would be a really nice matchup.
Roy had Jets and Packers.
Nice. I like that one too.
Lee had Pats versus Panthers. No other one had Pats versus Packers. My man Ryan, Saints versus
Ryan.
Dolphins.
The meme king.
Absolute,
Let's talk about this.
Absolute mad lad.
Let's talk about if it was a Saints-Dolphins matchup. Because obviously Sam and I are the Saints and the Dolphins respectively. What does that matchup look like? What does that matchup look like?
Honestly, if it was Saints versus Dolphins, we would have to both commentate the game together.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's no way around. Like, we would have to. And the thing is, it would have to be like, I'm assuming if it's me and you, like, Trey Lance probably wins MVP and
Right.
Tua wins AFC Offensive Player of the Year, and just something like stupid crazy happens for both of us.
Right. Like, and you and I talked about this off the podcast, but like if it was 2 years from now and our teams had grown a little bit and they were hitting their prime and somebody had said, oh yeah, Saints and Dolphins, I'd be like, okay, I can see that. Right now I don't see it, but I appreciate the love, Ryan.
Yep. Cody had Patriots versus Packers, no surprise there. And rounding out was Sean. Sean had Pats versus 49ers. So honestly, all these matchups are pretty fun.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
Chris is in the chat.
Or surely Chris picked his own team, right?
Hold on one second. It's way up here. Because we've got all the Sean smack talk by Cody. I can't go high enough to see it, apparently. Stops there. So I don't know who Chris had.
So it might actually be in content. I think he posted it there as well.
Who is this person in? So we do have a question, MVP picks by Vince, and I'm just gonna say I'm gonna pick for MVP. I'm gonna pick Russell Wilson.
That's a good pick. I'm going same division, same position. I'm picking Brock Purdy.
Okay, I like it.
I think with the addition of Hopkins and Landry, I think he's going to have a lot better weapons. He went to Dragon Camp, so his traits are going to be better. And I think he's going to feast all year. I think it's going to be like how Watson won MVP last year. I think he's going to throw a bunch of touchdowns and not a lot of interceptions.
I agree. So I think that's it for.
We had a couple questions that had to do with the AFC that I didn't want to do until we were done.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
This one's from Ryan. Who are the winners and losers of the draft? Big winners, I would probably say Corb and Oscar and Sean. Corb because he got 2 out of the 5 first round hidden devs.
Yeah.
Oscar because he got, I believe, 4 or 5 guys in the entire draft above 70. And Sean pretty much the same thing. He picked really well.
Yeah. And he asked for losers too.
Yeah, losers. I'm gonna
Jags.
say.
I think
it's
Jags.
I'm gonna say Denver.
Denver's also a good pick. I think wasting a second round pick on a 58 overall though is one of the most hideous things I've ever seen.
That was bad. I agree.
But
it's either Broncos or Jags.
Denver also had a really bad draft. So yeah, Broncos and Jags. Let's call it a tie.
Who will win the tank race this year, assuming we have better QBs in this class?
Texans.
Yeah, Texans are a good choice. Vikings are a good choice, depending on how many players they can trade away. Giants probably still, just because they're in
Ricky
a pretty
Giles
good division.
MVP.
Yeah, Ricky
And
Giles tank
Manick.
race.
I said it right there, Sean. Talking shit in the chat, saying I couldn't say it.
Lions going for the three-peat. If you go for the three-peat, Vince, we might have to give you the boot. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So I think Texans, Giants, Vikings are the clear. Like that's the top of the list.
Another one from Ryan. Are any teams being slept on in the power ranking team that will find themselves top 20 just for about himself?
I don't think there's anybody like. Yeah, I guess you could say that Eel. I think they're like the fact that so many people had me as high as they did in their power rankings. I think is ridiculous. Until we start winning games, I don't think you could put the Dolphins above 22 or 23.
Yeah,
So.
I saw in some of mine I was as high as 8, and that's stupid.
Yeah.
That's stupid high. My team hasn't done anything.
Yep.
I think Chris had me at like 15, which I feel like is pretty fair.
Yeah, I like maybe on paper my team looks better, but I want to see them win some games first before I let people put me that high.
Yeah, same here. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody sending in questions. I don't think I did, but then again, I completely left Chris's picks off the spreadsheet. Again, sorry about that, Chris. That is on me.
Yep. So I think that's it for tonight, guys. We will be back probably next Wednesday, I would think. Tuesday or Wednesday would be about mid-season for the mid-season review.
Yep.
So maybe Saturday if Sam's available and we get enough questions.
What Patriots questions?
Oh, shit. That's right. That's my bad. They're dumb questions, Cody. Just kidding. They're great. Will the Patriots be glad that Weidmer signed with the Bills, or will they regret not paying him more? I don't think the undrafted free agent.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think you're gonna regret it, but
yeah, I mean, I think he won't regret it because he'll at least play. I think Cody said he'd be the number 3 on his team, and he's the number. Is he the number 1 or 2 on Sean's team?
He's gonna start, yeah. So, I mean, just looking at the guy, he's 87 speed, 60 man coverage, 60 zone, with only 88 acceleration. So, no, you're not gonna miss him. You definitely shouldn't have paid him more than 60 million. Obviously 60 million is an overpay, and we knew it was going to be an overpay. I didn't think it was. When I put in my bid of 23 or 24 million, I was like, I got this in the bag. I was like, nobody's gonna pay this much for a 62 over. Nope, I was way wrong apparently.
I thought the same when I did 30. I think I offered 30.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this will be fine.
Yeah, I'll get him. So no, Cody, you won't regret it. And then, which Patriots player has the best breakout season? Oh, let's look at this roster and see what we're dealing with here. Who's gonna break out for the Patriots?
Well, I feel like all his players break out.
Yeah, I mean, but which guy is
if you're on the Pats, what constitutes a breakout? I guess is the main question.
I'm gonna say N'Keal Harry.
Ooh.
I mean, he had 880 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. I'm gonna say he gets to 1,150 and 10 touchdowns this season.
I'm gonna say Xavier Thomas.
That's also a really good choice. That's the one Cody, I think, thinks is going to break out.
Yeah, I mean, taking
and I
over
think
that spot for Trey Flowers. I mean, he had, I think he had like 3.5 sacks. Yeah, he had 3.5 sacks last year, but didn't play a whole lot. I mean, he only had 25 tackles, so I would probably pick Xavier Thomas. He's got, I mean, he's 6'2", 265. He's got good physicals and stuff, so I would probably pick him. He's got 83 speed. That's pretty good. Is there anything else? He's got the bull rush and swim move traits. He has 90 hit power. Jesus.
what is this? Oh, Jesus, yeah. Okay.
That's a monster.
Yeah, he's good. Okay, so that's actually it. But like I said, be back next Wednesday, Tuesday. Maybe if Sam's available this weekend, we do a question podcast if there's enough questions.
Sure.
Do you have anything else, Sam?
I don't think so. After this, I'm going to be streaming me and Vince's game, so it's going to be former number 1 overall pick versus number 3 overall pick. If you guys want to check that out, it'll be a battle in Detroit.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and good luck this season. So thanks for coming on, Sam.
Congrats to Chris for getting GM of the year. Well deserved.
Again.
And congrats to No Other One for winning last year's Super Bowl. He's got a really good team. We'll definitely look to repeat again as long as Zeke stays healthy. And let's see, anything else? Welcome all our new members. If it's your first season, we're happy to have you guys.
Welcome Mike's and Team Perp. So
yeah, if you ever have any questions about the league or about your team, feel free to reach out to either me or Kyle or any of the other CMs. We'll try to give you, honest answers. We won't steer you in the wrong direction.
Nope, for sure. So, all right. Thanks, Sam.
All right, man. I'll see you later.
Later.